This isn't a repeat, it's part 2, a new chapter with more historical detail, real characters, eerie legends, and the strange aftermath of the hole-in-the-rock pioneers. Tonight, we dig deeper into the years after the fort was built. This is Twisted History. Echoes of Bluff, ghosts, floods, and the last riders of the San Juan. Last time, we rode along with the folks who carved their way through stone and sand to build a home in the wilderness, a little place called Bluff, Utah. They built it with prayer, sweat, and mule's stubborn faith. But as the years rolled on, that same faith was tested again and again. Because after the hammers went quiet and the wagon stopped rolling, Bluff didn't rest. It began to haunt itself. Tonight we dig deeper into the years after the fort was built, when the desert started whispering, the floods turned biblical, and strangers with six-shooters rode through town like ghosts. Well folks, if you liked riding along this trail through Twisted History, tip your hat with a thumbs up and hitch your wagon to the channel by hitting that subscribe button. More tales from the frontier are coming soon. By 1885, Bluff had grown past its log fort walls. Stone houses replaced cabins, adobe chimneys puffed over cottonwoods, and the settlers thought maybe, just maybe, they'd beaten the land. They hadn't. Every spring, the San Juan River rose higher than before. One flood in '86 tore loose a wagon bridge they'd spent months building, snapped it like a matchstick, and floated it clean down to Mexican Hat. So they built another bridge, and another. They joked that the San Juan keeps the carpenter in business. But behind the humor was fear, the kind you don't speak aloud when the river sleeps only inches from your doorstep. It was spring of 1889 when the Great Flood hit. A freak storm rolled in from the Abajo Mountains and dumped rain for 3 straight days. By midnight, the San Juan rose 20 feet. The settlers heard a sound like the earth itself tearing open. They lit lanterns and rushed out just in time to see entire fields vanish. Chickens, wagons, and fences floated past in the dark. One family, the Nielsen's, climbed to their roof and sang hymns till the water receded. When the sun rose, half of Bluff was gone, but nobody died. And that's where the first whispers began. That the pioneers' faith had called down protection. Or maybe that the land respected their endurance. The Navajo said the flood was the river's test. If the people stay, they belong. They stayed. After the flood, Bluff's settlers leaned on the Navajo more than ever. The tribes knew the ways of dry farming, how to plant corn where water hides beneath sand, how to track storms by the color of the clouds.
A Navajo elder named Hosteen Sosi often met with settler leader Kuman Jones under a cottonwood tree near the fort. They shared tobacco, language lessons, and, according to local lore, a prophecy. If you build too close to the river, she'll take it, but if you build too far, you'll forget why she feeds you.
The settlers listened. They moved the town just enough to survive the next flood. That small act of cooperation became one of the few bright examples of peace on the western frontier. A partnership built not on treaties, but trust. Now peace is nice, but trouble always finds a trail. By the 1890s, Bluff was smack dab between outlaw territory and the Colorado Plateau. The outlaw trail ran right past it, from Montana clear down to Mexico. Rustlers, robbers, and renegades used those sandstone canyons like highways. More than one night, Bluff's folks woke to the sound of hooves on hardpan, only to find strange riders watering their horses at the San Juan by moonlight. Some say Butch Cassidy himself rode through in '96, chased by a posse out of Colorado. He didn't cause trouble, just asked for coffee, smiled at the preacher's daughter, and vanished by dawn. But others who followed weren't so polite. In the summer of 1899, a pair of outlaws known as the Grayson brothers tried to steal horses from a ranch outside town. When the sheriff and 2 settlers cornered them at the river crossing, shots rang out. It wasn't a Hollywood shootout, more like chaos. One brother fell into the river and was never found. The other was captured, half drowned and mumbling that the desert had eyes that watched. After that, no one camped alone near the crossing, and the locals swore they sometimes saw lanterns moving on the river at night, long after everyone else was asleep. After the turn of the century, Bluff rebuilt once again, this time in stone. They hauled sandstone blocks from nearby cliffs, carving homes that still stand today. You can see the Joseph Bartlett House, the Jones Cabin, and the old co-op store. Their thick walls cool even in 110-degree heat. But inside those stones are stories of babies born, of funerals held, of letters never delivered because the post took 3 weeks to arrive by mule. Visitors say the walls themselves seem to breathe, whispering in the heat. Some claim, when the evening sun hits them just right, you can see the outlines of the pioneers who built them, still working, still holding on. Even the old Fort Bluff became more legend than landmark. By 1905, most of it had crumbled, but travelers passing through said they saw lanterns flickering inside, though nobody lived there anymore.
Local children dared each other to peek through the broken gates. One boy claimed he saw a woman in a calico dress sitting by a fire that wasn't there. When he told his father, the old man just nodded and said, "That's Sister Jensen, still waiting on her husband to come back from the hole in the rock."
Whether you believe in ghosts or not, Bluff's history lingers in more than books. It breathes in the dust. By 1910, roads improved and the outside world finally found Bluff. A stage line connected it to Blanding, and new settlers arrived with iron plows and Model T Fords that coughed and wheezed on canyon trails. But that same progress pulled life away. Many of Bluff's founding families moved on, seeking schools, doctors, and steady trade. The population dropped from a few hundred to a few dozen, yet those who stayed became the keepers of memory, the guardians of a town carved out of rock and willpower. Today, the San Juan River still winds past Bluff, brown, restless, eternal. Raft guides and campers swear they hear voices when the night gets quiet. Some say it's just wind in the canyon. Others say it's the pioneers talking, or maybe the outlaws who never made it out. Every October, when the moon turns orange over the cliffs, locals tell the story of the Lantern Riders, ghostly figures seen crossing the water, heads bowed, carrying light for the lost. It's said that if you stand on the bluff above the fort and listen close, you'll hear a wagon wheel creak, a hymn in the distance, and the whisper, "We made it. We made it home." Because in Bluff, Utah, the line between past and present ain't drawn in ink. It's carved in stone and sand. This has been Twisted History. Echoes of Bluff, ghosts, floods, and the last riders of the San Juan. If you find yourself in that quiet town by the river, tip your hat to the wind. You never know who's listening. That's it for this round of Twisted Truths and Tangled Tales. Thanks for watching, but don't wander too far. Next week, we'll be digging up another piece of the past that refuses to stay buried. You're gonna want to see it only on Twisted History.